This is a summary of The Promises of Giants, a book by John Amaechi. John Amaechi OBE is an organizational psychologist and the first Briton to have a career in the National Basketball Association. He is aware of the effect his height has on others and adapts his behavior to counter the inevitable stereotypes. He regards everyone as a giant in his or her own right, regardless of size or status. As a giant, he says, you should be aware of the impact of your words and behavior and be intentional in your conduct. Amaechi offers a framework for living and acting as a giant. All right, here's the first takeaway. Those in authority or with power are giants in their spheres of influence. You are almost certainly a giant to someone, especially if you are in a position of authority or power. Failing to acknowledge or remember your giant status may cause collateral damage. As a giant, every action you take or word you utter becomes fodder for scrutiny by those who want your respect, validation, or admiration. This scrutiny increases in proportion to the power you wield. The accumulation of small interactions over time, rather than over a few pivotal moments, affects other people positively or negatively. As a manager, you need to give your attention to those around you with focus and intent. They're not cogs in a machine, but human beings, each with a unique set of needs and characteristics. When you give people your attention, compassion, and emotional reciprocity, they commit their entire selves to their work, support their teammates, share credit, and acknowledge responsibility. The following promises demonstrate a commitment to your personal development and to your work as a leader, a giant who seeks to influence, elevate, and motivate the people who work with you or live with you. Okay, let's hear takeaway 2. Giants embrace a lifelong journey of self-assessment and introspection. Author John Amaechi OBE, Order of the British Empire, was 16 in 1987 when he started playing basketball. He realized his height would enable him to play in the NBA and make a lot of money while going to school to become a psychologist. When he explained his naive ambition to his mother, Dr. Wendy Amaechi, she didn't point out the difficulty of his plan, but instead asked a puzzling question. Would you recognize your soul in the dark? This was Amaechi's introduction to the leadership promise. View yourself critically, but not cruelly. In-depth introspection enables you to be self-aware, empathetic, curious, flexible, and connected to other people. It provides a compass in an ever-changing world and enables you to take stock of the personality traits that may thwart you from achieving your goals. For example, Amaechi had to face that his love for eating pie and sitting quietly for hours with a book might prevent him from becoming a world-class athlete. Strong leadership requires a foundation of practical self-assessment coupled with external feedback. However, be aware of the inner voice that seeks to self-sabotage through the insidious imposter syndrome. Feeling unqualified often keeps conscientious, talented people from taking on leadership positions. An accurate understanding of yourself and your abilities gives you the fortitude to overcome self-doubt and recognize any equally damaging false bravado. Find your soul in the dark by asking how you prefer to interact, solve problems, and approach challenges. What is your response to stress, joy, or discomfort? When do you feel at peace? How do you process deep emotion? And what are your best and worst qualities? Now let's listen to the third takeaway. Meaningful achievement requires understanding what success means to you. These ideas define success. First, nice guys don't necessarily finish last. People equate nice with weak and falsely associate aggression with success. Second, success doesn't require cruelty. Don't abandon your humanity to be successful. Make tough decisions and have difficult conversations, but never with a disregard for the people affected. Third, success is relative. Be clear about your definition of success so you don't chase someone else's dream or try to live up to a false ideal. The fourth idea is success requires a clear, vivid, and explicit vision. For motivation, envision a future in which you've achieved your goals. Fifth, success requires compromise. Ask, do I want to win or do I want to be right? Never compromise your values. Negotiate workable solutions. Sixth, success isn't a zero-sum game. Your achievement does not have to come at another person's expense. And finally, success hinges on the minutiae. Commit time and energy to every aspect of your work. Do the daily drudgery. Don't become complacent. Consider the long-term rewards and draw from your emotional reservoir. Okay, let's move on to the fourth takeaway. Boldness, untempered by vulnerability, is foolhardy. Vulnerability alone leads to risk avoidance. Announcing a bold goal with vulnerability means admitting that achieving it won't be easy and that you will need help at times. Enlist a support group of helpers and allies. Amaechi's greatest ally was his mother, who helped him create a plan for getting into the NBA. First, he needed to attend an American high school to hone his basketball skills and draw the attention of college recruiters. Amaechi wrote 3,000 letters stating his quest to play in the NBA. He received 3 responses and 1 offer, which came from Jesuit High School in Toledo, Ohio. Reiterating his bold goal strengthened his resolve and facilitated connections and opportunities. Encourage your supporters to monitor your progress, hold you accountable, and provide advice. Forget wanting to seem cool and in control. Pretending that you're infallible makes you less relatable and approachable. Being vulnerable helps you exercise emotional pre-recognition, the ability to anticipate how your words and actions will affect others, and to adjust your behavior accordingly. Here's another takeaway. Giants acknowledge their inherent biases and assess their interactions with people who are different from themselves. Envision a doctor. Who do you picture? Your mental image, whether a white male, a woman of color, or someone else, springs from your unconscious biases. Consider whether you have inherent advantages and if they affect your views. Recognizing bias is essential, but it's not sufficient. Your behavior in response to bias, especially your own, is what matters. Your thoughts can't injure anyone, but your words and actions can. The phrase unconscious bias implies that people aren't responsible for their actions. Reframe unconscious bias as entrenched assumptions, and ask if you have any automatic ideas about people who aren't like you. Assess how you act with those who are different from you. Adults monitor their words and actions to avoid hurting others or behaving in unacceptable or inappropriate ways. Pay attention to the problems bias causes in society. Now for takeaway number 6. Giants recognize the outsized impact their words and actions have on those within their orbit. Excusing or rationalizing behaviors such as procrastination and avoidance is always tempting. Belonging to the cult of busy doesn't relieve you of disagreeable tasks, tedious work, or challenging interactions. Effective leaders prioritize how they invest their time. They try to fulfill the acronym FEE for focused, energized, and effective. Focus your attention on things that advance you toward a clear goal. Maintain an energized effort to complete every task in service of this goal. Execute effectively to be productive and efficient. Your undivided attention is a powerful use of your time. Amaechi learned this by watching his mother interact with the families of her palliative care patients. Her undivided attention and compassionate words revived the family's spirits and renewed their energy. As digital technologies replace in-person contact, your attention becomes even more valued and valuable. Focus on other people with intention. Facilitate meaningful interaction using the POB model: preparation, orientation, and behavior. Prepare by clearing your mind and focusing on the other person. Orient yourself physically towards that person. Close your phone and other screens. Make eye contact. Respond verbally, and use appropriate body language to show that you are present and engaged. Okay, let's continue. Here's takeaway 7. The promises you make to others are as vital as your promises to yourself to continue your personal development. When people see themselves through your eyes, reflect their abundant potential back to them. Provide the boost of confidence they need to do their best work. As a boy, Amaechi saw a clever, adored, beautiful child reflected in his mother's eyes. He didn't see other people's negative or prejudiced reactions until secondary school. That experience in his teens caused him to withdraw and censor himself. People in the minority often feel this way, and the perception of being less than limits their contributions and potential. Strong leaders support their employees to empower peak performance. Another promise of giants is to deal with people as unique individuals, not as their job descriptions. Treating workers as commodities blocks their contributions and impedes their creativity. People in an overlooked, mistreated workforce may blindly follow orders, but this programs them to ignore their principles and judgment. Unfortunately, many companies follow bureaucratic processes and policies that dehumanize their employees. Do the emotional labor necessary to bring out the best in people by taking the time to ascertain the managerial approach that will work best according to each individual's needs and style. Now for the next takeaway. Giants provide useful, on-time feedback because people need it to grow. Avoiding difficult conversations is human nature, but giving feedback often falls into this category. Giants take the trouble to provide on-time, helpful feedback to help people develop. Giving constructive feedback is a learnable skill based on continual observation and astute appraisals. Pay attention to people's ongoing activities to identify and respond to positive or negative behaviors when they occur. Filter your feedback by considering whether it aligns with your objectives. If you clearly understand the circumstances generating someone's behavior, then your feedback is beneficial and useful. Some feedback may be critical of necessity, but it never needs to be cruel or disrespectful. Okay, let's hear the 9th and final takeaway. Company culture results from the choices people make every day at every level of an organization. Behaviors become normalized over time. People accept and perpetuate destructive behavior if leaders allow it to continue without opposition. Sports, for example, are not by their nature exploitative or racist or hyper-masculine. The choices made by the people involved in a sport shape its culture. Paying millions to a university football coach who has a history of harassment or allowing a parent to berate a teenage umpire shapes a negative, damaging culture. Everyone in an organization contributes to its culture. As a giant, become a custodian of the culture through the choices you make every day. See your organization objectively. Mission statements and About Us web pages paint rosy pictures of corporations that nurture employees and strive to make the world a better place. Savvy leaders take an honest, critical look at how their organizations function. They acknowledge the shortcomings of some teams and team leaders, worker disengagement, and the lack of systemic scrutiny or merit-based evaluations. Giants promise to support inclusion. They are aware that hiring people who are a good fit can work against building a diverse, inclusive workplace. People self-select out of working for a company if they believe they won't feel fully accepted. To build your workforce, hire people whose talents, work ethic, and goals align with your objectives regardless of their appearance or background. Provide a psychologically safe work environment that promotes daily inclusion. And make sure everyone treats each team member with dignity and respect. This level of trust encourages people to share their feelings, show their vulnerabilities, and allows you to know their true selves. And in that setting, they also do their best work. That was a summary of The Promises of Giants, a book by John Amaechi. Let's recap those 9 takeaways. Takeaway 1. Those in authority or with power are giants in their spheres of influence. Takeaway 2. Giants embrace a lifelong journey of self-assessment and introspection. Takeaway 3. Meaningful achievement requires understanding what success means to you. The fourth takeaway. Boldness, untempered by vulnerability, is foolhardy. Vulnerability alone leads to risk avoidance. Takeaway 5. Giants acknowledge their inherent biases and assess their interactions with people who are different from themselves. Takeaway 6. Giants recognize the outsized impact their words and actions have on those within their orbit. Takeaway 7. The promises you make to others are as vital as your promises to yourself to continue your personal development. Takeaway 8. Giants provide useful on-time feedback because people need it to grow. Finally, the ninth takeaway. Company culture results from the choices people make every day at every level of an organization.